Hello, it's Valentine season, and in this video you would be learning how to design this Valentine flyer right in Photoshop. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. So these are the documents I will be using for our designs. Okay, I'm going to leave a link to these documents either in the description box or as a pinned comment in the comment section. So feel free to practice along. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop, and we're going to begin by creating a new document. Okay, so I'm going to give this document a name. I can just go right ahead and name it as Valentine's flyer. Valentine's flyer. Alright, and I can use a dimension, and I'm using a dimension of 1920 by 1080 pixels, a resolution of 300, but you're free to use any dimension of your choice. Okay, my color mode is RGB because I'm not going to be printing this design. Okay, so when I'm done, I leave other settings at that default settings, and I go right ahead and I click create. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to create a gradient layer. Alright, so I'll go right ahead and I'm going to go down to my fill and adjustment layer right here, and I go to gradient. Okay, so I'm going to select any of these gradients. Okay, ensure that your gradient is not selected to this transparent right here, else it's not going to give you the desired effect. So you should select something like any color. Okay, let's just go for a blue, but I'm going to change this to the colors I want to use for this project. Okay, so I already have the color combination in my notepad right here, so I'll just go ahead and copy this. So this is the first color code I want to use, and then I click this and I paste it right here. I click OK, then I go to my notepad once again, take the second color code, I copy, and I go to my Photoshop right here, and I Ctrl V to paste. Alright, so I click OK right here. Then once again I also click OK here. Now here where it says linear, or where it says linear, I'm going to change it to radial. Okay, then I'm going to select the scale to something like let's go for maybe a 199, 188 or something. Okay, 210. Okay, 199. I think I want to go for a 180 something. Okay, 188 is, oh no, I'm taking it to 188. Okay, 188 is cool. Then I go ahead and I click OK. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import my backgrounds. Okay, so I'm going to go to my notepad, my documents, and I'm going to right click and I say open in Photoshop. So next up, I'm going to unlock this layer. Then I'm going to desaturate my background or this image. So I'm going to do that by pressing Ctrl Shift U. Okay, so I've completely desaturated my background, and I'm going to click and drag it right into my work area. Right, so I'm going to ensure that it fills up the canvas like so, and then I come to my blending options right here. I'm going to select either overlay or soft light, something that I think overlay is better. So I'm going to select it. Then under opacity, I'm going to reduce the opacity a bit, just to give that cool faded effect at the background. I think this is okay. Okay, and then okay, then I'm also going to bring in another background. Okay, so I go back to my documents folder, and I'm going to open this one in Photoshop as well. Okay, I think I'm done with this. I'm going to close this one. Alright, so I'm going to drag this I'm going to drag this and I say convert to normal layer. Click OK. Then I'm going to take it into my work area like so. Of course, I minimize it to fill up the canvas a bit. Then I drop check my tool right here. So next up, I'm going to give this layer a mask. So I'm going to come here, and where it says add layer mask, I'm going to click this. Then I go to my brush tool on my toolbar here, but I can also do that by pressing the letter B on the keyboard. So I'm going to brush off a part or some parts of this image. Okay, so but before I do that, I'm going to go to, okay, let me drop my brush tool first of all. Then I go to my blending options. I also change this to maybe an overlay or a soft light, whichever one. I think soft light is better. And then so I take my brush tool here by pressing the letter B on my keyboard, or I just come here and press take this, that's the brush tool. So I'm going to brush off. Just ensure that you're okay. Before you brush off, ensure that your foreground color is set to black. Alright, and then you start brush off. So I'm just going to brush off parts of the image. Okay, just brush it off. So the next thing I'm going to do is right here is that I'm going to bring in my logo. Okay, so before I go on to bring my logo, I'm going to group these ones, holding shift key, click all and press Ctrl G. Okay, I can group them as my background, BKGD, that's background. So next up, I'm going to bring in my logo. Okay, so before that, let me just close up all these ones. I think I'm done with this. So I'm going to bring in my logo, but before I do that, I'm going to draw a rectangle. Okay, so I go to my rectangle to here, my shape tool, and I pick up the rounded rectangle right here. So I'm going to hold my shift key, click and drag it, something like so. Alright, so I drop my tool. Okay, I position my rectangle something like this. So I want to ensure that it has a bit of a rounded edge. So I'm going to give under the properties bar, I'm going to give it something like a 50 pixel around, or 60. Let's go for 60, or let me just do 80 pixels. Alright, so I'm going to give it a feel of white. I think white will be better for this. Okay, so I give it a white color as a feel. Alright, so next up I'm going to bring in my logo. Alright, so my logo is right here. So I go to File and I go to Place Embedded. Alright, to bring in my logos. My logo should be here. Where are these documents again? Where are you? Okay, here. So this is my logo. I double click to import my logo. Alright, so I drop my tool. So let me just resize my logo a bit, right here, like so. And yeah, drop my tool, take it above the ellipse, the rounded rectangle. And so I'm going to ensure it fits into the shape right here. Okay, so I'm going to give it a shadow, so it will be a little bit more visible. So I go to my I right click on the logo layer right here, and I select let me give it an outer glow, a drop shadow, an outer glow. Okay, an outer glow. Then let me change this to black. I think black will be better. Or let me give it a shadow effect. Shadow, okay, and a stroke, something that will bring it, just bring it out a bit. Okay, I think this is cool. And then I click OK. So as you can see right here, our logo is kind of very visible. So let me just resize it. So I go to my let me select the layers, the rectangle and the logo, and let me resize both of them. Okay, I think this is cool. And I drop my text, my tool. So next up I'm going to add the name of the organization, or the name of the brand. So the name of the brand is Sears Chicken. Alright, so I'm going to take my text tool and type the word Sears Chicken, SIZZ. Alright, I drop my text tool. So for this I'm going to go for a Montserrat bold for the name of the brand. Or Montserrat bold is cool. Then I change my color to white. Okay, so I'm going to position this just beside something like this, Sears Chicken. Then I'm going to duplicate this by holding my Alt key, click and drag, and type the word chicken. Alright, so I drop my text tool. Let me just resize this a bit. Drop my tool here. I select both layers. Let me resize it a bit. Okay, something like so. Okay, let me drag it down a bit. Just resize it. Sears Chicken. So I'm going to select these layers as logo. Alright, so I'm going to group them, Ctrl G, and name them as logo. Now it's good you select, you group and rename your layers. I think it's going to help you for proper organization of your project. Okay, so next up I'm going to bring in my image, the image of the chicken. So I go to, okay, so I go to okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I go to file and go to file embedded and to import the image of my chicken. So this is the image I'm using. Alright, so as you can see right here, there's some kind of background on our image. So I'm going to get rid of that first. Now to do that, I go to my eraser tool, click this and go to magic eraser. Alright, so I'm going to rasterize it. Okay, it's asked me, it says, do you want to rasterize the smart object? I say yes, click OK, and then I click the image to remove the background. Voila, so we have successfully removed the background. Okay, so I drop my eraser tool and I reposition my image, something like so. I can rotate it, something like this, just to, okay, give it some kind of effect. So I still notice there are some rough edges on my image, so I'm going to get rid of them using the eraser tool. Okay, so I'll take my eraser tool and then just brush off these rough edges. Can do that very neatly, okay, very neatly. Okay, so I come up, I do the same for this side, just brush it off very neatly. Alright, so good to go. So next up, I'm going to add some kind of shadow to the image to give that realistic effect. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to add a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to add a new layer by clicking this plus sign, and then I go to my rectangular marquee tool, and then I select the elliptical marquee tool, and then I just draw an ellipse, like so, and then I fill it up. Okay, I go to my what they call it now, my paint bucket tool, and I ensure that the color here is set to black. So I'm going to click this to fill up, and then I go to select and press deselect. Okay, so I drop my marquee tool. Now, okay, so next up I'm going to ensure that the what they call it, the shadow effect, or this black layer I just drew now, is below the chicken image. Okay, like so. Now I'm going to rearrange this image. Okay, just arrange like this. I can enlarge it. Alright, then I go to my blur. I drop the tool. Then I go to my blur and select Gaussian blur, and then I just increase the blurriness a bit. Okay, increase the blurriness a bit, and then I click OK. So I'm going to reposition this image, the shadow effect. I'm going to enlarge it and then reposition it to give it to be just underneath the plate. We have successfully given our plate a kind of a shadow effect to make it look very, very real. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do right here is that I'm going to start adding my text. Okay, so before that, I'm going to group this as chicken. Okay, so I'm going to select these two layers and Ctrl G and group them as, and rename it as chicken. Alright, so next up I'm going to start adding my text, okay, to this project. So I'm going to first of all, I'm going to take my text tool and type the word Valentine's Day. Alright, so for this, so I'm going to use the font. Okay, let me use the Color font, cool one. Let me go for creation demo. Okay, I'll leave a link to this font in the description box as well. Alright, so Valentine's Day, put it here, and then I'm going to duplicate this and then type the word mega sale. Okay, so I'm going to change this font to a Bibas font. Okay, mega sale, position it like so. Alright, like this. Okay, then I drop my tool. So next up I'm going to give this an afterglow. So I come to the mega sale layer here, I right click and select blending options. Alright, then I go to outer glow. Right, let me take this outside and I'm going to click this, and I'm going to select an orange color for this, bright orange color, to give it that cool effect. So I'm going to increase the opacity a bit, and then I click OK. So we have given this a cool outer glow effect. Okay, a cool glow effect. Then next up, I'm going to duplicate this. All right, and type the word sizzling. Sorry about that. Sizzling. Give space. Hot. And give space. Fresh. Space again, and tasty. Okay, fresh, double space, and tasty. So I drop my two. All right, then I'm going to resize. This. Okay, so I'm going to resize this. Okay, something like this. Okay, now for this font, I'm going to use the. Let me just take it out a bit. So for this one, I'm going to use a font, Old Bookman, I think Old Bookman something. Let me check it out. Okay, Bookman Old Style. Yes, that's it. So I'm going to reduce it further, resize it further. So I'm going to resize this further. All right. So now, if you notice, there are some spaces between each of the words. Okay. Now it's a deliberate act. Okay. But first, let me take this image out a bit. It's like it's taking much more space. The chicken image. So let me just sort of take it out a bit. Just take it so I can have more space for. All right. I think that's okay. All right. So I'm going to add a bunch of ellipses right here. So I go to my ellipse tool right here, and then I just draw just really tiny ellipse. I give it a feel of orange, something like this, and then I take my ellipse. All right, then I take my drop my tool, then I take my ellipse and bring it here. Let me resize it, something like this. Cool. Okay, this is fine. Then I hold my Alt key. Okay, then I hold my Alt key, then duplicate it, something like this. All right, so this is cool. So I'm just going to select. I'm just going to group this layer. So I'm going to select this one and group them as ellipse. All right. Or should I say sizzling. Okay, so next up, I'm going to add, bring in my brush. Okay, so I go to File, go to Place Embedded, and then bring in this brush. Okay, so I'm not going to use all these brushes. I just want to pick one. So I go to my marquee tool, rectangular marquee tool, and then I select one of these brushes. Then Ctrl J to duplicate, and then I drop my tool, then I get rid of the others, delete. So I'm going to change the color of this one. So I go to my blending options right here, right click, and I select blending options. Then I change the color, I go to color overlay, change it to white, it's already on white, so, and then I click OK. So I'm going to resize this one by holding my shift key and adjust it a bit, like so. I think this is okay, this is cool. Alright, then I'm going to add a little text here, buy one and get a free drink. Okay, so I take my text tool by pressing T, and I say buy one and buy one and get. Okay, and let me duplicate this and get a free drink. Alright, so I'm just going to resize it to ensure that they're properly aligned. Okay, so I'm going to select this two and drag it right here. Okay, I'm going to resize them to fill up the space. Okay, something like this. Then I'm going to change the color, okay, to red. That'll be very visible. Change the other one to red as well. Alright, so ensure they are both bolded. Okay, they are bold. Alright, so next up I'm going to just resize them so that they fill up the space properly. Alright, so I think this is making sense now. So I'm sure you're having value from this video. If you are, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more amazing graphic design tips, tricks and tutorials. Alright, so let me just change it to bold. I think I want this typeface to be bold. Cool. Okay. Alright, I think this is what I want. So next up I'm going to add a call to action. Okay, something that will trigger okay, people's interest to want to take action. So I'm going to go to my ellipse tool right here and take a rounded rectangle, and I'm going to draw this like so. Change it to white, give it a feel of white. Okay, and then let me give it 50 or rounded. So I'm going to resize this. Alright, something like this is cool. And then I drop my tool. Then I'm going to duplicate this because it's the same. Okay, I hold my Alt key, click and drag this, and it's order now. So I drop my tool, then I position this right here, take it above this one. Okay. Okay, I think this is cool. So next up I want to give this, okay, let me just resize it a bit further. So I want to give this a bit of an outer glow. Okay. Alright, just to make it really stand out. Alright, so next up I'm going to add the phone numbers and social media handles. Alright, so I'm going to go to my file. Okay, go to file, place embedded. Okay, this is the phone number icon. Okay, I drop this, I go to my blending options and change it to white color. Okay, give it color valley white, and I click OK. I drop my tool. So I'm going to resize this. Okay, and put it somewhere here. Alright, so I'm going to add the phone number. Okay, I drop my text tool. Alright, I'm going to give this a feel of white so it will be visible. Okay, feel of white so it will be visible. And I'm going to just resize it to fill up the space here. Okay, so next up I'm going to bring in the Instagram icon. So I go to file once again and then place embedded. Then I go to Instagram, give it, okay, change the color to white as well, blending options. Color valley white, and I click OK. Alright, so I'm going to resize this as usual. Okay, let me resize this. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate this text, Alt click and drag, and I'm going to input the social media handle that sees at. Okay, go with shift and type the symbol at sees underscore chicken. Alright, so I think this is cool. It's come together. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add just a little bit of effects to this to make our chicken become real. Okay, so I'm going to group this as the social media icon and social media addresses. Okay, so I'm going to hold my shift key and select here and Ctrl G, group this as my social media. Alright, so next up I'm going to bring in two things quickly, and this video will be done. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my smoke effect. So I go to my place embedded once again and bring in, yeah, the smoke. All right, the smoke. So the smoke should be, yeah, just above that. And then I go to, then I give it let me create a mask layer on the smoke effect. Then I take my brush tool, ensure your foreground color is set to black, and then you brush off part of this images, part of the smoke effect. Okay, brush it off, and you under your blending options, you ensure that you give it something like an overlay. I think overlay is cool, and then you just drag your smoke effect here. Okay, all right, so you're going to brush off, I'm just going to brush off part of the smoke that's on the chicken. All right, then the final thing is I'm going to bring in the image, another image of my chicken. Go to file, place embedded. I bring this image right like this one. Okay, I'm going to take off the background. I go to my eraser tool, click this, first of all rasterize, go to my magic eraser rather, click it, take off the background, and I'm going to resize this and put it here, something like this, just bring it here. Alright, I think this is cool. Then I can just rotate it a bit just to give it that cool effect. And I'm going to give it a shadow, so I go to my layer options here, right click, and I select blending options, and I go to drop shadow, just to give it kind of a shadow effect. Okay, size, distance, don't want it to be too far. Okay, so as you can see here, we have given the cool shadow effect, and then I click OK. Alright, so our Valentine's flyer is good to go. So I'm sure you had value from this video. If there's any part of this tutorial that's not clear to you, please feel free to ask your questions in the comment section. So thanks for watching, and if you had value from this video, please give this video a like and share this video, and also support my channel by subscribing to my channel for more amazing graphic design and general internet tips, tricks, and tutorials. So till I see you in my next video, have a very, very, very happy Valentine's Day celebration. Bye for now.